The morning sun spilled golden light across the glass facade of Pinnacle Trust Bank's flagship branch in downtown Atlanta, casting long shadows over the bustling streets below. Inside, the lobby gleamed with polished marble floors and sleek modern furniture, a testament to the institution's reputation as a pillar of financial excellence. At 8:45 a.m. the air hummed with the quiet efficiency of a well-oiled machine, tellers tapping at keyboards, customers murmuring in line, and the faint whir of a cash-counting machine in the background. For most, it was just another Tuesday. For Nia Coleman, it was the day everything would change. Nia stood near the entrance, her reflection barely visible in the glass doors. At 42, she carried herself with an understated grace that belied her extraordinary journey. Her attire was deliberately simple, a charcoal blazer over a white blouse, dark jeans, and a pair of sensible flats. Her hair, styled in a neat updo, framed a face that radiated calm determination. To the untrained eye, she was just another customer, perhaps a small business owner or a mid-level professional. No one could have guessed she was the CEO of Pinnacle Trust, the first black woman to hold the position in the bank's 87-year history. Her rise to the top had been anything but easy. Born in a modest neighborhood in Savannah, Nia had grown up watching her single mother stretch every dollar to keep the lights on. That struggle ignited a fire in her, a relentless drive to master the world of finance. She'd started as a part-time teller at a local credit union while earning her degree in economics from Spelman College. Nights spent poring over textbooks and days spent balancing cash drawers had honed her into a force of nature. Over 2 decades, she'd climbed the ranks at Pinnacle Trust, teller, loan officer, branch manager, regional VP, each step marked by record-breaking performance and unshakable integrity. When the board named her CEO 6 months ago, it was a victory not just for her, but for every underestimated dreamer who'd ever been told they didn't belong. Yet, victory came with a shadow. Behind closed doors, Nia had uncovered troubling patterns in the bank's operations. Customer satisfaction surveys painted a rosy picture, but raw data told a different story: disproportionate account closures, higher rejection rates for loans among minority clients, and a subtle but persistent exodus of customers of color from certain branches. The flagship location, managed by veteran branch head Victor Grayson, stood out as a glaring anomaly. On paper, Grayson's numbers were impeccable: high deposit growth, low complaint rates, but the exit interviews Nia had quietly commissioned revealed whispers of disrespect, delays, and outright hostility. She'd decided to see it for herself. This wasn't about ego or theatrics. Nia believed leadership meant understanding the unfiltered truth, not just the polished reports that landed on her desk. She'd traded her usual power suits for this unassuming outfit, slipped her executive badge into her purse, and walked into the branch as an ordinary customer. Her plan was simple: withdraw $20,000 from her personal account, a modest sum for a CEO, but large enough to test the staff's response. She carried her driver's license, bank card, and a withdrawal slip, all in order. What she didn't carry was any hint of her true identity. The lobby buzzed with activity as Nia took a seat in the waiting area, her eyes scanning the room. A middle-aged white man in a tailored suit breezed through the entrance and was immediately greeted by a smiling teller who ushered him to a private desk. A Latina woman in a nurse's uniform approached the counter next, only to be met with a curt, "Take a number," and a dismissive wave toward the seats. A young black man in a delivery uniform stood at the quick-service window, fumbling with his ID as the teller peppered him with questions about his deposit. Nia's jaw tightened. The pattern was already clear, and she hadn't even stepped into line. After 20 minutes, her number flashed on the screen. She approached teller station 3, where a young woman named Chloe, her name tag gleaming under the fluorescent lights, glanced up with a perfunctory smile. "How can I assist you today?" Chloe asked, her tone neutral but her eyes flickering over Nia's outfit with a subtle judgment. "I'd like to withdraw $20,000 from my account," Nia replied, sliding her ID and withdrawal slip across the counter. Her voice was steady, professional, betraying none of the anticipation coiling in her chest. Chloe's fingers froze mid-tap on her keyboard. She peered at the slip, then at Nia, her brow furrowing. 20,000, she echoed, loud enough to draw the attention of the teller beside her, a stocky man named Derek. That's a lot of cash. Can I see your bank card too? Nia complied, placing the card next to her ID. Chloe studied both, her lips pursing as she typed. Derek leaned over, peering at the screen. Account looks legit, he muttered, but his tone carried a hint of skepticism. Still, that's a big withdrawal. You sure about this? I'm certain, Nia said, her patience unwavering. It's within the daily limit for my account type. Chloe hesitated, then turned to Derek. Should I call Victor? This feels off. Derek nodded, and within moments, the branch manager himself emerged from a glass-walled office at the back of the lobby. Victor Grayson was a towering figure, his silver hair slicked back, his pinstripe suit exuding authority. At 58, he'd spent 25 years at Pinnacle Trust, building a reputation as a no-nonsense leader who kept his branch running like clockwork. He strode toward the counter with a practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. What's the issue here? He asked, his voice booming across the lobby. This customer wants to withdraw $20,000 in cash, Chloe explained, handing him Nia's ID. It's a large amount, and we just wanted to verify. Victor took the ID, holding it between two fingers as if it might be contaminated. He glanced at Nia, his gaze lingering on her jeans and blazer. A mess. Coleman, he said, reading her name aloud with a faint sneer. That's quite a sum. May I ask what it's for? It's for a personal investment, Nia replied, meeting his stare. I'd like to complete the transaction now. Victor's smile tightened. I see. Well, we have protocols for transactions like this. Security measures, you understand. We can't just hand out cash to anyone who walks in, especially not amounts like this. His words hung in the air, sharp and deliberate, as a ripple of chuckles spread among the staff. Nia's chest tightened, but her face remained a mask of calm. I've provided my identification and bank card. The funds are mine. What exactly is the issue? Victor leaned forward, lowering his voice to a condescending whisper. Look, Ms. Coleman, this bank serves a certain clientele. We have to be cautious. You don't exactly fit the profile for someone moving this kind of money. I'm sure you get it. The lobby seemed to shrink around her, the weight of every stare pressing in. Derek smirked openly. Chloe shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. A white woman in a designer coat, waiting nearby, clutched her purse tighter, her eyes darting between Nia and Victor. The message was clear, Nia didn't belong here, not in their eyes. But Nia wasn't just any customer. She was the woman who'd spent her life proving she belonged everywhere she stepped. She took a slow breath, her mind racing through years of boardroom battles, late-night strategy sessions, and the quiet strength of her mother's voice telling her, never let them see you break. This wasn't just about her. It was about every person who'd been dismissed, diminished, or denied in these walls. Very well, she said, her tone ice-cold but composed. If you won't process my withdrawal, I'd like to speak to someone who will. Victor laughed, a short, barking sound. I'm the manager here. There's no one above me in this branch. If you don't like it, there's a payday loan joint 2 blocks down. They might be more your speed. The staff erupted in stifled laughter. Nia didn't flinch. Instead, she reached into her purse, pulled out her phone, and stepped back from the counter. Excuse me for a moment, she said, dialing a number she knew by heart. Victor crossed his arms, smug satisfaction radiating from him. He had no idea the storm he'd just unleashed. The clock above the teller stations ticked to 9:02 a.m., each second amplifying the tension in Pinnacle Trust's flagship lobby. Victor Grayson stood with his arms crossed, his smirk a silent challenge as Nia Coleman pressed her phone to her ear. The staff, Derek snickering, Chloe fidgeting, and a cluster of others exchanging knowing glances, formed a wall of quiet complicity behind him. Customers lingered, some pretending to focus on their transactions, others openly watching the drama unfold. Nia's voice cut through the hum, crisp and deliberate. "Yes, Marcus, it's me. I'm at the downtown branch. They've refused my withdrawal. I need you here now." Victor's smirk faltered for a fraction of a second. "Marcus?" The name rang a faint bell, but he dismissed it. Probably a bluff, he thought, some desperate attempt to intimidate him. People like her always tried to pull strings they didn't have. He leaned toward Derek and muttered, "Watch her squirm when this falls apart." But Nia wasn't squirming. She stood like a statue, phone back in her purse, her dark eyes locked on Victor with an intensity that made the air feel heavier. She'd spent years mastering the art of composure, first as a teller facing irate customers, then as a manager turning around failing branches, and finally as a C-suite executive navigating boardroom politics. This moment was no different. She knew the power she held, and she knew how to wield it. At Pinnacle Trust's headquarters, 10 blocks away, Marcus Tate leapt into action. As the bank's chief compliance officer and Nia's closest ally, he'd seen her battle prejudice and skepticism at every turn. The urgency in her voice told him this wasn't a drill. "Get me the downtown branch footage, live feed, now," he barked at his assistant, already grabbing his tablet and security badge. Within minutes, the 32nd floor security hub buzzed with activity as technicians pulled up multiple camera angles of the lobby. Marcus's jaw tightened as he watched Victor's sneering dismissal play out in real time, the audio crystal clear. "There's a payday loan joint 2 blocks down. They might be more your speed." "She's the damn CEO," Marcus muttered, fury simmering beneath his calm exterior. He dialed the head of HR, then the legal team, his voice clipped. "Meet me downstairs in 5. We've got a situation." Back in the lobby, Victor's patience, or arrogance, wore thin. "Ma'am," he said, his tone dripping with mockery, "if you're done with your little phone call, I'll have to ask you to leave. You're disrupting our operations." Nia didn't budge. "I'm a customer exercising my rights. You're the one disrupting service by refusing a legitimate transaction." Victor's face reddened. "This is a private business. We reserve the right to refuse anyone who doesn't meet our standards." He gestured to a security guard hovering nearby, a lanky young man named Jamal who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Escort her out." Jamal hesitated, his eyes flickering to Nia. Sir, she hasn't done anything aggressive. Maybe we should." "Now." Victor snapped, cutting him off. Jamal stepped forward reluctantly, hands raised in a peacekeeping gesture. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but you'll need to come with me." Nia's gaze softened as she looked at Jamal. "I understand you're just doing your job. But I'm not leaving until this is resolved." Her words were firm, a quiet authority threading through them that made Jamal pause. The standoff stretched taut, the lobby a stage for a silent audience of customers and staff. A white businessman in line huffed impatiently, muttering, "Some people don't know when to quit." A black woman in a postal uniform watched from the corner, her expression a mix of resignation and quiet solidarity. The tension was a living thing, coiling tighter with each passing second. Then the revolving doors spun open, and Marcus Tate strode in, his navy suit impeccable, his presence commanding. At 6 feet 2 inches, with a shaved head and a voice that could silence a room, he was unmistakable. Behind him trailed 2 HR reps and a legal advisor, their faces grim. Victor's smirk vanished as recognition dawned. Marcus Tate wasn't just a name, he was a corporate legend, the man who'd rooted out fraud and rebuilt the bank's compliance framework from the ground up. "Victor Grayson?" Marcus's voice boomed, cutting through the lobby's hum. Victor nodded, confusion replacing his bravado. "Why yes, that's me. What's this about? Marcus didn't answer. He turned to Nia, his tone softening. You okay? I'm fine, she replied, her voice steady. Just waiting to withdraw my money. Marcus faced Victor again, his eyes narrowing. You refused a customer a legitimate transaction. Care to explain? Victor straightened, regaining some of his swagger. She requested $20,000 in cash. It's a security issue. We have protocols. Protocols don't include discrimination, Marcus cut in, holding up his tablet. I've got live footage of this entire interaction. Every word, every sneer, every assumption you made about her based on nothing but your own bias. Victor paled. I didn't know who she was. You shouldn't have to, Nia interjected, stepping forward. Her voice was quiet but carried the weight of years of authority. I'm Nia Coleman, CEO of Pinnacle Trust. But even if I weren't, I'd still be a customer deserving of respect. You denied me that. Worse, you've denied others the same. The lobby fell silent. Chloe gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Derek's smirk evaporated, replaced by wide-eyed panic. Jamal stepped back, relief washing over his face. Customers murmured, shock rippling through the crowd. Victor's mouth opened, then closed, words failing him. Nia continued, her gaze sweeping the room. I've spent my life building this bank into a place of trust and opportunity. But trust starts here, with how we treat every person who walks through these doors. You've failed that test. Marcus handed her a folder from his briefcase. Victor Grayson, your employment is terminated effective immediately. HR will handle the details. Security will escort you out. Jamal, now tasked with a job he didn't mind, stepped forward. Victor sputtered, you can't, this is my branch. Not anymore, Nia said, her tone final. 7 minutes ago, you made a choice. Now I've made mine. As Victor was led away, his protests fading into the background, Nia turned to the staff. This isn't just about him. It's about all of us. We're going to do better, starting today. The lobby exhaled, the weight of the moment settling in. For Nia, this was only the beginning. The clock struck 9:10 a.m., and Pinnacle Trust's flagship branch felt like a different world. Victor Grayson's exit left a vacuum, the air thick with shock and uncertainty. Nia Coleman stood at the center of it all, her presence a quiet storm amid the chaos she'd just unleashed. Marcus Tate flanked her, his tablet still glowing with the damning footage that had sealed Victor's fate. The staff stood frozen, Chloe biting her lip, Derek staring at the floor, others exchanging nervous glances. Customers lingered, some whispering in awe, others unsure whether to applaud or slip away. Nia's eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail, the polished counters, the mission statement etched on the wall, empowering wealth, building futures, and the faces of those who'd failed to live it. She'd fired Victor in 7 minutes flat, but this wasn't about revenge. It was about accountability, about dismantling a culture that had festered under her watch. She'd seen the data, heard the whispers, but witnessing it firsthand, feeling the sting of dismissal in her own bank, Nia turned to the staff, her gaze unwavering. I'm not here to play games. What happened today isn't an isolated incident, it's a symptom. I've seen the numbers. This branch has the highest customer attrition rate for people of color in the region. Loan approvals for Black and Latino applicants? Lowest in the state. And yet your performance reviews glow. Explain that. Chloe stepped forward, her voice trembling. Ms. Coleman, I didn't mean to offend you. I just followed Victor's lead. He said large withdrawals needed extra scrutiny. Scrutiny based on what? Nia asked, her tone sharp but not cruel. My account was verified. My ID was valid. What made this extra? Chloe faltered, her eyes dropping. Derek muttered, "It's just policy," but his bravado had evaporated. "Policy doesn't include smirking at customers or suggesting they don't belong," Nia said, her words cutting through the excuses. "You're not robots. You made choices today, and every day before this." She stepped toward the quick-service counter, where Jamal still stood, his security badge glinting. "Jamal, right?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," he replied, standing straighter. "You hesitated when Victor told you to escort me out." "Why?" Jamal swallowed. "It didn't feel right. You weren't causing trouble. You were calm, polite. I didn't want to make it worse." Nia nodded, a faint smile breaking through her stern demeanor. "That's instinct. Trust it. You're staying on. We need people who think, not just obey." Jamal exhaled, relief washing over him. The other staff shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tide turning. Marcus approached, his tablet in hand. "Nia, you need to see this." He tilted the screen toward her, revealing a spreadsheet of customer exit interviews. Over 60% of minority clients who closed accounts here cited unwelcoming service. Most didn't file complaints, they just left. Victor buried the feedback. Nia's jaw tightened. He didn't bury it alone. This took a team effort. She turned back to the staff. "You're all on notice. We're auditing this branch top to bottom. Those who enabled this culture. You're out. Those who want to fix it. Prove it." The HR reps began calling staff into the office one by one, laptops open, disciplinary forms at the ready. Derek slumped, knowing his smug commentary was on tape. Chloe's eyes welled up, but she nodded, as if silently vowing to change. The reckoning had begun, and it was swift. Beyond the counter, customers watched in a mix of awe and unease. The black woman in the postal uniform approached Nia hesitantly. "Ma'am, Ms. Coleman, I've been banking here for years. What happened to you?" "It's happened to me too. Not as bad, but enough." Nia met her gaze, softening. "What's your name?" "Lydia," the woman replied. "Lydia, I'm sorry. This bank failed you. I failed you. That ends now. Tell me your story, every detail. I'm listening." Lydia hesitated, then spoke, slowly at first, then with growing confidence, about delays, rude remarks, and the subtle ways she'd been made to feel less than. Nia listened, her silence a promise. When Lydia finished, Nia handed her a card. "Call me directly if it ever happens again. You're why I'm here." As Lydia stepped back, visibly lighter, Marcus leaned in. "Legal's drafting a statement. The board's freaking out, they want this contained." "Let them freak out," Nia said. "This isn't about containment. It's about transformation." By noon, the branch was a hive of activity, HR processing terminations, IT pulling records, and Nia meeting with customers one-on-one. She wasn't just cleaning house, she was laying the foundation for something better. The fire she'd felt as a child, watching her mother fight for every penny, burned brighter than ever. This was her bank, her legacy, and she'd rebuild it brick by brick. By 3 p.m. Pinnacle Trust's flagship branch bore little resemblance to the place Nia Coleman had entered that morning. The air crackled with a strange energy, part uncertainty, part hope. Victor Grayson was gone, along with Derek and two others whose actions on the security footage left no room for redemption. Chloe and a handful of staff remained, their fates tied to a probationary period Nia had imposed: prove your worth, or follow Victor out the door. Jamal had been promoted on the spot to interim security lead, his quiet integrity earning him a nod from Nia herself. The lobby, once a stage for humiliation, now buzzed with purpose. Nia stood at its heart, sleeves rolled up, directing HR and IT teams like a general on a battlefield. Marcus hovered nearby, coordinating with headquarters as the board scrambled to respond to the day's upheaval. The security cameras, once silent witnesses to bias, now recorded a different story, a CEO reclaiming her institution from the inside out. Nia had spent the afternoon doing what she did best, listening, strategizing, and acting. After Lydia's story, more customers came forward. A Latino entrepreneur denied a business loan despite stellar credit, an elderly black couple over-scrutinized for a simple wire transfer, a young Asian woman brushed off when she asked about investment options. Each tale fueled Nia's resolve. She'd launched an immediate review of all denied transactions from the past year, vowing restitution where warranted. "This isn't charity," she told Marcus. "It's justice." The branch's data, once a shield for Victor's facade, became Nia's weapon. By 4 p.m. IT had flagged dozens of irregularities, rejected applications with no documented cause, delays tied to customer demographics, patterns of preferential treatment for wealthier, whiter clients. Nia sat with the team, poring over every line, her mind already mapping a new training program, mandatory bias workshops, real-time service audits, and a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination. "We're not just fixing this branch," she said. "We're setting a standard for every location." Word spread fast. By 5 p.m. local news vans lined the street outside, reporters clamoring for a statement. The board, rattled by the optics, urged Nia to downplay the incident. She refused. Instead, she stepped onto the branch's steps, facing the cameras with the same composure she'd shown Victor. "Today, I walked into my own bank and was treated like I didn't belong," she began, her voice steady. "That's not a fluke, it's a failure we've ignored too long. Pinnacle Trust is better than this. I'm better than this. Starting now, we're rebuilding trust, one customer at a time." The clip went viral within hours, hashtags like #BankingWhileBlack and #NiaColeman trending across social media. Support poured in, customers vowing to return, activists praising her stand, employees from other branches sharing their own stories. Critics emerged too, decrying her public stunt, but Nia let the noise fade. She'd never cared about applause or blame, only results. Inside, the day wound down with a quiet victory. Nia processed her original $20,000 withdrawal herself, handing the cash to a local youth center director who'd joined the crowd outside, a symbolic gesture of reinvestment. As the last staff member clocked out, Chloe approached, hesitant. "Ms. Coleman, I want to stay. I'll do the work." "I didn't realize how bad it was." Nia studied her. "You've got a chance, Chloe. Not because I'm generous, but because I believe people can grow. Don't waste it." Chloe nodded, tears brimming, and left. Marcus joined Nia, the lobby now empty save for them. "You turned a disaster into a movement today," he said. "The board's still panicking, but they'll come around." "They don't have a choice," Nia replied, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "This is my bank now." As she locked the doors, the sun dipped below the skyline, painting the glass in hues of orange and gold. Nia thought of her mother, of the little girl who'd once counted pennies on a kitchen table, dreaming of a world where she'd never be counted out. That girl had won today, not just for herself, but for every Lydia, every Jamal, every dreamer who'd been told they didn't fit the profile. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. But for now, Nia Coleman stood tall, the architect of a new dawn.